This video is an overview and supplement of Chapter 4 of David Morrow's book, Giving Reasons. In this chapter, Morrow talks about good and bad arguments and what makes an argument better or worse objectively. There are some features of arguments that we can recognize that will make an argument objectively better or objectively worse than another argument. We need to focus on the premises. The premises, says Morrow, should be reliable, relevant, and strong enough to prove the conclusion. A premise is reliable if the audience is justified in believing it. It must be not just true, but also justified. This justification takes place relative to the audience and what the audience already knows or has experienced. A premise is either reliable and justified with respect to an audience, or it is not justified and reliable with respect to an audience. It would be justified in one of the 5 ways that we've already discussed. The example that Morrow gives of a lottery ticket and when the claim, "this is the winning ticket," becomes reliable or becomes justified to different audiences at different times is a good example that illustrates this property of reliability. So take a close look at that in the book. A premise is relevant if it gives the audience some reason for believing the conclusion. This is not the same as giving the audience some motivation for believing the conclusion. Being motivated to believe something or wanting to believe it is not the same as having good reasons for believing it. Judging relevance often requires contextual knowledge. It requires us to know something about the topic under discussion to be able to evaluate the relevance of different premises. And sometimes there will be hidden premises or assumptions that we will supply when we analyze an argument. We'll talk more about those later. Finally, a premise is strong enough to prove the conclusion if the premises altogether are sufficient or enough to convince the audience to accept the conclusion, to convince a reasonable audience evaluating all the evidence. This is not always going to be a matter of absolute certainty or proving something must be the case. Oftentimes, for many arguments, it's going to be a matter of the premises being strong enough to tip the balance in favor of accepting the conclusion. Sometimes, as in court cases or criminal cases, the threshold will be quite high, beyond a reasonable doubt. Other times, you'll need to meet a lower burden of proof in order to establish the argument. But the premises together must be reliable, relevant, and strong enough in order for the argument to be objectively good. That's my quick overview and comment on Chapter 4 of Morrow's book. I look forward to discussing it with you soon. Goodbye.